So when we're younger, we experience a lot of changes, a lot of transitions, a lot of, you could say, emotional turmoil when we're in our 20s or even sometimes into the 30s. But, you know, if you haven't noticed, life is a big ball of wisdom, and we learn things along the way, and it's not until we're a little bit older where we realize that, or our perception of events or situations or people from maybe 10 years ago are quite different. So in this video, I'm going to give you my 5 most learned things that I wish I knew 10, 15 years ago. Sit tight. Number 1, boundaries are huge, super important. You know, when we're younger, we get into this mindset of feeling guilty for saying no to people or setting boundaries, especially say if you're getting out into the workforce first thing. You don't want to say no to people because you think you're going to step on toes, you're new to all this. You don't want to break anybody's heart, disappoint people. You want to impress. You want to fill these roles and responsibilities in your life. But it's not until later in life you realize how important it is to set boundaries, to realize that not everything is an emergency. You know, the age of technology, we feel guilty if we don't text or call somebody back right away. It's not an emergency most of the time. You know, we got along well before the age of cell phones with being able to, you know, still contact people in case of emergency. And we got along okay with not getting back to people right away. In some cases, you know, way back when, we had to write letters to people, right? And then you would wait a week to get a response. So think about just how things have transitioned and moved along so fast in life. And this complex we get, or this idea in our head, where I don't know where it came from, maybe just society or when we were growing up, that saying no to people is wrong, that putting ourselves first is wrong, that setting boundaries with people, protecting our own energy is wrong, or there's something shameful about that. No. Number 2, personal expectations can be just as or even more intense than what we think others expect of us. So as we go through this big ball of life, we fit certain roles and responsibilities. Right? We fit into certain archetypes, right? Whether you're a sister, your mother, your daughter, you are a caretaker, you have a role in your job, maybe you're a girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, whatever. Roles and responsibilities, but a lot of times we put so much intense pressure on ourselves to meet certain expectations. And it's most of the time, and we'll learn this later on, that it's not actually as much what others expect of us, but it's our perception of what others expect of us, you know? And again, it goes to that not wanting to disappoint people. But as you go on, you realize that you are important. You are the most important person in your life. Right? Of course you're going to fill roles and responsibilities and do things for other people and take care of other people in certain situations. But the moment that you place all of your energy that's made for you onto somebody else, and what your perception of how you're supposed to be, I guess, that's where things get skewed. And we put all this pressure and intense, you know, personal obligations on ourselves and expectations on ourselves. And I just want to say, you know, free some of that up, free some of that energy up for you and your talents and abilities, and you'll have more energy to be you in the world, be more authentic in the world, instead of always thinking from out there. Okay, this person, I need to be, this person for this person and that person for that person and blah, 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 this and that, because we get lost in it. We get lost in the shuffle. So reevaluate, take a look at what the expectations are that you put on yourself and whether they're realistic as to what other people expect of you or whether that is your perception of what other people expect of you. Number 3, stop fighting the fight if the fight is not, in fact, yours. So something along the way, throughout life, you'll realize that you hop onto a lot of crusades or fights or things that you're standing for in life, things that are maybe important to you. But I just want you to reevaluate, and this may come later, where you reevaluate the things that you're doing in life, the things you're fighting for, I guess, and whether that is in fact your fight or the fight of other people or the fight you grew up with, whether it's political, whether it's religion, whether it's just certain value set, I want you to take a look at, what your actual beliefs and values are and maybe reevaluate that and think or ask yourself the question, are these my values, or is that what I truly believe, or is it something that I've gone along with or what other people believe and I've kind of been born into it, essentially. Okay, so as you go through life, you start to realize the things you stand for, what's important to you, not what you think is important to you, because it can get muddled over time. Not what you think you believe, but what you actually believe. And sometimes that it takes a while to really unravel things. And a lot of times people are just going throughout life unaware of these things, doing things when deep down they don't actually believe it or they don't really feel the fight anymore for that particular thing. Like, things change over time, people change, views change, beliefs change. So reevaluate that and be flexible and open to maybe an aha moment where you're like, wow, okay, I don't believe this anymore, and that's the way it is. Number 4, reaction can be much more impactful than action a lot of times. So, as you go throughout life, you may realize that your reaction to a person or a situation or whatever it is can have a much better outcome. If you're more aware of your reaction to something, you could have a much better outcome than acting or trying to force or trying to push, say, somebody to like you or change somebody's beliefs or thoughts on something. People will come and go in your life. That's a huge, huge thing. And the people who are meant to stay in your life will stay in your life in some capacity. It'll just be, and the people that don't, you have people that come and go. And it's learning to realize that over time. But this idea of forcing situations in your life, forcing people, forcing opinions on people, once you realize that it doesn't work too well over time, then you're going to be more aware of how you're reacting to certain things. You're not going to just be defended or guarded or fight with somebody if they don't agree with you or if they don't like you or something like that. If you're more mindful of your reactions in life, you usually have a better outcome, and it's a more peaceful outcome, and it's coming at it from a higher place, okay? A higher place where you're kind of looking from the outside and not in it, where you're just like, I'm trying to force this to happen. I'm trying to force this job, this relationship, all kinds of things. So being mindful of your reaction is often better than just the great big push. And number 5, and this is probably one of the most important ones that I've found, is that sometimes life's greatest detours or letting go of something in our lives brings us exactly where we need to be in life for our highest good. So it can feel you know, when you're younger, you're going through, you know, changes and transitions and a lot of emotional stuff, it can feel like the end of the world when something happens, or a job ends, or a relationship ends, friendship ends, anything like that. But often it's stuff like that, like the dark spots that we think are dark, that actually opens up new opportunities later on. So when I say detour, life can go many ways, right? So, you know, I think when we're younger, we have a mindset of like this way or this way, like we have horse blinders on. We don't think of all the possibilities or the grand scheme of things or the way to do things, because we're victims essentially of the world, of society, and what society tells us, or how to be successful, or how to make money, or what we need to do to survive and be safe and all kinds of things. But you know, later on in life we realize, no, there's a gray area. There's many different areas, and often it's those moments where we think everything's falling apart, where it's actually coming together later on, and we'll see all the puzzle pieces fit together. This has happened so many times in my life where I'm like, okay, that seemed, you know, 10 years ago, that seemed like the worst thing possible. But now looking back on it, it was the best thing to happen, because it led me to here. It led me to this other thing. It led me to this person that I met, essentially, right? So, things will happen. But if we put all of our focus on an energy into thinking that, you know, this is bad, well, nothing is good or bad, essentially. Things just happen. It's just our perception or our reaction to something that happens. So, you know, the wisest thing, one of the most, you know, profound lessons we can learn in life is that everything kind of happens for a reason, or everything works out one way or another. There's many detours that happen that lead us to somewhere else, and usually we realize it may be for something better, right? Oftentimes we'll stay in things and not let go of things and attach to things because we're scared, we're fearful. We are thinking about, again, our perception of what others are expecting of us, of our roles and responsibilities. But hey, when do you get to actually think for yourself? It goes back to, again, your beliefs, what you stand for, what you actually want in life. And that's the biggest lesson as well, is really unraveling your true wants and needs, and not the superficial wants or what you think you want, but what you actually want, or what you actually need in life to feel happy, right? And maybe it's not as big as you thought it was. And sometimes that can be eye-opening. And oftentimes we go through a grieving process when we let go of stuff. We let go of a job, we let go of a person. But it's later in life where we realize that it's perfectly okay to grieve, not only a person who may have passed, but a relationship that ended, or a job that ended, or moving to a different location where we're no longer, you know, it's a scary thought to let go of something, but it's also creating new possibilities in your life. It's creating growth in your life. It's opening doorways to new and better things, as long as you believe in it and as long as it's in line to your true values. So anyway, I hope you found this interesting or helpful. Let me know in the comments below what you have learned maybe in the past 5-10 years, depending how old you are. You know, maybe what you learned in your late teens or your 20s. And looking back at things now, you know, it's a funny thing when you're in something, say in like when you're 20 or something, you're in something and it feels so much different, maybe like 10, 15 years later than it did when you were in it. You know, your emotional reaction to it is different. It's not as heavy, or it's not as big, or it's not as traumatizing as it used to be. And what that is, that's growth. It's spiritual growth, essentially. When you look back at something and it no longer hits you as hard as it once did. So anyway, subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos every single week on all kinds of things: self-cultivation, self-empowerment, Chinese medicine, 5-element, yin-yang stuff. Give me a like. Again, give me a comment, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.